I think by this example, the content of this T-shape will how to say, it make it more clear. Because it doesn't see the formula, maybe it's relatively a little bit difficult. Before we see this example, and we go back to see this basic formula quickly again. For this T-shape, in this T-shape we use the one is equivalent stress block used to use the effective width of the flange. So do you remember how to get this equivalent width B F prime? Have we the impression how to get this PF prime? So because in the real distribution of the stress is like this. For this distribution, if you want to calculate the compressive force, it's difficult. You need to integrate it. So normally we use the equivalent method to use this rectangular block. So we define this BF prime. So how to get this BF prime? In your book, we introduced three methods actually. It's in this HBC code. This three method, yes. I didn't put it on this PPT, but the content is in your book.
Is in the book?
Yeah. So it's in 72, page 72, 1, 2, 3. Each on different situation. So any impression? Remember?
For simply supported beam, that one.
Yeah, for three different situations, and by this area situation, you go this way. You want to compare these three value use the minimum one. Okay, this is the so this is the effective width BF prime. We use this to BF prime to get this to calculate the compression force. And for this T-shaped beam, we define two types of different T-shape. Always the section is loop, the outlooking is just T-shape. but the cross section is T shape. But whether it's T shape or not is based on the area in comparison. If it is comparison, area is only in the flange. So we define this is a kind of one, type of one, because this type it works just like the rectangular shape. So it looks like T shape, but actually it works just like a rectangular shape. But if comparison is reach the rib T shape, then it's really working just like a T shape, because the rib, part of the rib, bear the compression force. So normally, the first step of calculation, we need to determine which type of the T shape it belongs to, type 1 or type 2. So remember how to determine it belongs to type 1 or type 2. How to
That one?
yeah.
If f is the AS.
Use which formula or equation?
You said
That if it's small, it's that 1. If it's big, it's that 2. Out.
I mean, yeah, we go to one of the formula or equation to determine the real category of this T shape. Remember which category, which formula or which equation we use?
B prime F H prime F. That's now equal to F is the AS.
Also, can you write the three basic equation for type 1 and type 2? If you just see this figure, can write the basic equation.
MCG. You can write.
Oh, but this symbol is wrong. Let's see we have
B prime F.
yeah, both this. Yeah, just this. We need to write this formula. You don't need to remember it. You need to just remember this symbol, and then you can. I think you can just write it by your understanding. This will be H X and this is H F prime. So here AS. So we got this symbol. Can you write the basic formula for this type 1? And if the compression is reached here, then it's belongs to type 2. So for these two different this equation X is from here. For these two situations, you can write the basic formula. So this formula is for the type 1. FCB B prime, this B prime X equal to the tensor force. And the type 2 for this type.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you can write that?
Yeah.
Don't see your book, just see the figure.
This one.
Just based on your understanding of this figure, they write down this at least the 2 basic equations. You can try just go see your book and just try to write this to see if you can or not. So here is the H0. If you can write out the basic equation, then I think you have understand this. This effect was BF prime, the height, total height H, effect height H0, compression height X, then write the basic equation. So try to write yourself the balance of the force, the balance of the movement. Yeah. Yes, it's right. Yeah, this is for the top 1, this is top 2. You remember? So, say, normally use we say once if only the hand, only the part of the hand is bearing the compressive force, then it's type 1. Then the boundary condition is this, the total area of the flange decompresses. So once the total area of this flange is decompressing, the moment compared with the external load comes 0 and B, once it's larger than this, once it's smaller than this. So remember?
Oh, why? Oh.
Is belong to the formula of FSD.
Why?
Yeah, it's very simple. Efficiently. The area of the flange, the area of flange.
Oh, the area.
The area, the total area of flange. B, the total area of flange.
Oh, B. Multiply.
Yeah.
Must be.
We compare with the absolute gamma and B.
Gamma. Oh, it should be less.
If we
Type 2.
So for this situation, this is MU larger than M0 MD, so it belongs to which?
If MU is larger than, if MU is larger, it's type 2. No, type 1, type 1. If MU is larger, that means that in the compression zone, that means in the compression zone the state is, the reinforcement is.
That means that's the total flange in comparison
Is more.
Area is too big, so only part of this flange in comparison is enough. So that means part of this flange in comparison, this equation, that means
Type 1.
yeah.
If type 1.
Yeah, it's a smaller than it's a type 2. So this is the basic equation we use for different type 1 and type 2. Yes. This basic equation, yes, it's very, I think it's very simple. When you have to understand it. So the calculation is that first step, assume once give you the cross section size, give you the T-shape size, material strength, and the calculated value. we got H0. So assume AS is the same, is same as the rectangular shape. For the rectangular shape, we always the first step we assume AS. Because totally the section, first section size H and B, then we need to know H0. So H0 equal to H minus AS. So normally we first assume AS. Then we got the effective height H0. Then the second step, we need to determine the effective width flange, BF. This normally told you the real width B, or this B1 or this B2. You need to calculate the effective B, effective BF prime. So effective width BF prime, we use the three different conditions according to CHBC the code. We got different value and then compare these three values and choose the minimum one. Then you got this effective width BF for the flange. This is the first, the second step. And the third step, determining the type of the T section. Use this equation we just derived there. So this equation just means use the compression height equal to the height of the flange. That means it's the boundary condition. Once the total flange is in compression, you can got this compression force, and the moment induced by this compression force. Compare this moment with the outload force, outload moment MD. Then you can determine is type 1 or type 2. So this equation you should understand. So this is the type C, type 3. Determine the type of equation. And then you should remember, once we got the AS, once we got the area of the reinforcement, normally when we check the design, we use another equation to determine whether it's type 1 or type 2. To have the imagine how to which equation we use to once we fix this design and design what type of reinforcement in this section, then we need to do the check of this design. So at that time, which equation we use to determine whether it's type 1 or type 2? It's different with this.
We use FCG, BF, HF.
Hear that? FCE, EF. You just can't remember it. Yeah, so or if this is smaller than this, which type is belong to?
If it's smaller, is type 1.
Type 1. You sure?
No, type 2. If it's great, it's type 1.
Yeah, it's great.
No. If it's great, type 2. If it's more, type 1.
You're right there. If what? If it is
Small.
smaller than type 1.
Less than or equal to.
Hmm?
If it's less than or equal to.
So you don't write this, you just write after the equation. As the equation you write FCBBF HF smaller than FSDAS. So this belongs to type 1 or type 2.
Here.
The equation you write
Here.
and this one, and write behind this type 1 or type 2. Follow this equation, just write down.
Thank you. It belongs to you.
You just write type 1 or type 2. And then if it's larger than this, it's up to
Oh.
okay. So this is your answer. So that's once you have finished your design, then you need to check whether it's welcome to, because for this design work, when you finish design and define what type of the reinforcement you use, that means you have finished your work. You need to check again. Check again if it's okay or not.
Okay, that's
So this, once you define the type of the section, then the fourth step for T section of the type 1, then it's actually works like the rectangular first section. Then we can calculate the comparison part x. Actually use the C or directly calculation x equal to this. So for this equation, do you know how we got this equation?
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Oh, based on the formula.
It's just use this basic equation. You see, in this equation we got a yes, so this equation we cannot use. And this equation also got a yes. We don't know yes, so this equation you cannot use. Then in this equation you see only x you don't know. Then you can use this equation to get x. That's why we got this equation. Use the second equation to get x or c. So for the second type 2, the same things. Same thing, we got x. And once check, we also need to check x if x less than hf prime or CB H0. So if it doesn't satisfy the condition x smaller than CB H0, then design needs to be modified. Because the CB H0, we have said, is the boundary condition. So your design have to satisfy this. So after you design the section check. So normally the section check is the purpose is to calculate the bearing capacity, or in other words, calculation MU, compare with the gamma MD to see if it's strong enough to bear the load. So first step, we need to check in whether the reinforcement layout satisfy the specification. So the color thickness, the space between this reinforcement, all this construction requirement. The first step in check this. Then also the same thing, determine the effective watts, the real watts BF, also based on the CHPC the code. And then use this, determine the type 1 or type 2, use this equation just now, we write there. So this is to see the tension or the reinforcement is less than or this. So this is the reference stand. So when is the first kind, that means X smaller than HF. So the compression height is just in this flange, type 1. So we can use the equation, basic equation to calculate the MU. What is the second type? That means X is in here. So the equation is difference. So this is content for the T-shape. In our book, we got an example. We see in 76 page. So we see this. So we have a little break. This class we see this sample. The real shape is like this. Now is a thicker. Now this the thickness is 100. This thickness is 140. The real situation is like this. So in our book, when we calculate it, we make the average. We make this average just like this. So the average the average thickness of this should be 120.
120.
No. 120. Yes, 120. So that's why in your book, the second graph is you use this. The thickness is use this 120. The real T-shape is like this. The thickness is directly changed. Because for this, so you know why? Why in the real situation is like this, not like this, not the same thickness? Why we use this shape? Why we don't use this shape?
To prevent to make it balanced to stable.
Because if it's like this, it can be easy.
Yeah. To provide support to the flanges, so it will not break or collapse easily.
Yeah, because for this split angle, the stress is concentrated on this point.
Yeah.
It's easy to break or crack. So for this type is a little bit stronger than this. So normally we use, but when we calculate it, normally we make it simple, we use the average thickness.
Okay.
So this is the given condition. The height is 1.3 meters, the effective wise 1.6 meters or 1.58 frequency wise. C the material is C30 and HRV 400. So the environment condition is half 1. Environment. The safety level. Safety Safety level is safety level is 2. The combination moment MD equal to 3000. Okay, so make the so that's all the conditions have given to you. The force, the material, the environment condition, the safety condition, and the dimension. So everything I told you. So ask us to determine the reinforcement and check. So this is the typical question for this T-shape. So how to do this? First, assume AS.
Yes.
So the first step, assume
Yes.
AS. So in our book, we assume AS equal to
40
125
millimeters.
millimeters. So H0 equal to
H minus AS.
is 1175. So do you know why we use this 125?
Because it's really large enough.
Yeah. So you should remember in your book we got this relation how to assume AS on the top of the 75 page. AS normally equal to 30 plus 0.72 0.1 each for T shape. So that's why we use this value. So we got H0. Then the second step, the effect was BF. So in this question, we don't need to calculate because in this question we have got it. This is given condition. So the BF equal to
1,600.
So third step, determine the type 1 and type 2.
Type 1. Hey, yeah.
Determining
Either type 1 or type 2.
type 1 or type 2, the T shape. T shape type. Second type. So
BF is given, right? BF is given.
yes, in this question I have been given to you. So now we use this equation FCD B F and H F prime plus H0 minus half HF dash. So those values equal to 3.8. So 3.8 is the design value of FCD. You can check the table. And then 1.6. 1.6 is BF.
Yeah.
And then 102 is this average thickness for the flange. And then
H0.
117 minus half
H0.
for this. So finally, you can go 29543. So compare this value with, not directly with
The
3000, and this is because gamma 0. So, but in this condition, actually, the load induced moment is 3000, and so in this condition, with the safety 2, that means gamma 0 equal to 1.0.
0.
If safety 1, gamma 0 equal to
0.9.
0.1, and if this 3, 0.9. So that's why we directly use here, we compared with the 3000.
Okay.
Actually, is gamma 0 MD.
MD.
So now this means step 2 out of 1. Smaller than this.
Smaller than this, it means that is step 2.
Type 2.
Type 2.
So it's type 2. Type 2. That means the equation we use is difference. So the fourth step, we use the equation of the type 2 to calculation. So this equation FCD B x plus FCD B H F prime BF plus B FSD AS and the gamma 0 D equal to FCD BX H0 minus half X plus FCD HF prime BF minus B H0 minus half So this is the equation for the second time. In this fourth step, we use this equation to calculate AS. The purpose is to calculate AS. So for step 4, fourth step, which equation we need?
To calculate for the AS.
First, we need to calculate X. Once we got X, then we can got AS. So we use this second equation to calculate X. Because in this equation there's no AS. No AS, then we can directly use the equation to get X. So the X equal to, the equation is X squared 2350 plus 300 479 equal to 0. So we use this to got X. Finally, you can find X equal to 136 millimeter. Then larger than HF. So that means it's really belongs to type 2. So for this equation, you know how we got this equation. Just put all the value into this. You can finally got this equation. So for this, I think it's no question.
Yeah.
So once you got X, then the final step AS. Once you got X, use this equation, got AS.
Okay.
So AS equal to FSD
FCD BX
BX
plus FCD
What?
FCD
FCD
H prime
FCD
H prime
F
prime BF prime
BF prime
minus B.
So we got AS. So now, once you got AS, we determine the number and the diameter of the reinforcement. The real arrangement is still. So now in this question, we got AS. The area of the reinforcement we need. So you check the table. if you design, what's your choice? Can make a choice? Maybe different with this book. The example on the book.
Okay.
So on this book, we use 10 of these 32. So that means diameter is 32, number is 10. So normally the T shape, this arrangement of the snail normally just on two columns, just one by one. This is the where the skeleton of the reinforcement. If it's a bound skeleton, then you need to have
The
space
spacing.
between each layer. So that's the difference. So for this region, we have determined to use 10 of this 32. So now the design is finished. Oh no, you see? There's some of the question, you have noticed that the area of this actually is 0.8043
8043
for 2.
42.
Actually, it's smaller than the area we
Yeah.
need. But they chose this.
I think that one is closer to the 816.
So normally we should love than this value. But in this, you see, in this example, in your book,
It's
they
smaller.
chose the design is a little bit smaller.
It's not good option.
Is this design fine or not? It's good or not?
It's not safe.
But you see that the check of this, the result think this design is okay.
Maybe now should just compare and check if the value is closer to the 8163. And maybe 8042 was closer to 8163. That's why they choose it.
Yeah, so that here goes one person. Before I told you we need to make this value larger than this. So now maybe we don't need to make it is larger. Maybe just near to this value
Yeah.
is okay.
Yeah.
Because
Close to
why?
it.
Because some of the value we assumed. Once you put the real reinforcement inside, maybe this value have changed. Then
Yeah.
make this is fine. The loading characteristic is big enough. Yeah, that's the question. Normally we said that real AS should be larger than the result you got. But if it's a little bit smaller, maybe it's okay because now you can calculation is 1 or 2% or how much is less?
Yeah, like 2.
1%.
Two, yeah.
It's, very little, very
Very
smaller.
small.
Yeah, very small difference. So it's for this use this design is also okay. So that's less design. So for your choice, maybe it's little better to make it larger than civil. It's more stronger.
Okay, Lasha.
So that's the design. You see, finally the cover thickness they use 20 millimeter, and we check the construction requirement. Let's see. Because the diameter is 22, so the outer
diameter.
outer diameter is 35.8. So because the width is 200, you need to check the curve thickness plus this diameter plus the space plus this should not larger than this. So now is 2 or this 3.5 and the distance, the curve thickness actually they use 3.5. No, something is not good. Oh yes, they use this. So they use the curve thickness at this side. They use 35. So now is 200 minus 2 equal to 58, larger than 40. So they check this condition is the space between these two columns is larger than 40, so they meet the requirement. Because this distance should be larger than 1.25 diameter of the reinforcement.
Oh, so now where from the two?
Hmm?
The two.
Which one?
The two is the two layers, like the two.
That means two sides. Capacitance.
So this is the calculation then. The second type is a check. So check is easy. We see the first the parameter AS equal to 20 plus 2.5. So for in this formula, 20 is the curve thickness of this. 2.5 35.8 because we got the file layer. The central of this file layer, of course, in the middle is 2.5. So the outer diameter of this reinforcement is 35.8. So for the AS should be this point, this dimension AS equal to 20 plus this. So that's the real AS equal to 110. So that's the difference. We assume AS equal to 125. Now the real AS is 110. So why? You see, AS becomes smaller. That means this T, because AS is the action point of T here. That means AS getting smaller. Then the arm of the T becomes larger. So that's why we use the area smaller, a little bit smaller than the requirement. It's still okay because the arm is larger than you assumed. That's the reason is here. Because we assume the AS is at this position. So if AS is here, then the H0 becomes smaller. Smaller H0, you need to large T. Large T means you need large AS.
Yes.
So now you made this AS smaller. That means H0 becomes larger. H0 becomes larger. Then T we can make it a little bit smaller. That means AS will be small. So that's why we can use this way, a little bit smaller than this.
Actually, the AS, the 20 plus 2.5, where did you get it from? The 20 plus 2.5. Yeah, okay.
So now we got the AS. For the AS, that means we got
1
H0 equal to 1190
millimeter.
So when we got H0, then we need to determine the T. So normally we should make this value a little bit larger than this value. But now, in this example, they use this value a little bit smaller than this value, than the theory we need. Why? But if you see the final check, this value is also okay. So the reason is here. We assume AS equal to 1 to 5. And the real arrangement make this AS 1, 1, 0. So what that means? That means H0 become larger. H0 become larger, that means for the tensile force, the arm become larger. So we know F equal to F D. Now D become larger. So F can become a little bit smaller. So F becomes smaller. F equal to FSDAS. AS is fixed. FSD is fixed. The AS can be a little bit smaller. So that's why we use this. They use this value. It's smaller than the theory value we need, but the design is still okay. Because they made this ES smaller, made this H0 larger. So before we said we need to make this real area larger than the result we got. But now we can see, maybe you don't need to make it larger than this. Maybe just a little bit smaller is still okay. So get it? Suppose if you got this value, normally it's larger than this value is good. But if it's because you see the area, because the diameter is still normally is fixed, 22, 24, 26. That means the area is fixed. So it's not very easy to go to the exact design is larger than this. Maybe some value, some design is just near to this value. A little bit, maybe just like this, a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. If you design, make this AS smaller than assumed value, then this design is also okay. So understand?
How about the 200 minus 2 times 53?
This one?
Yeah.
So
Yes, please.
200 is the watts of the rim.
Yeah.
2 plus 35.8.
To
Because we got the two
allow
column.
is to multiply.
2 means like
Yeah. And 2 is 35 is the tau thickness. Two sides.
So why we take 35 times 8? Why? Why we say 2 times 35?
Because 35.8 is the outer diameter of the reinforcement. Because we got the 2 columns, so it's 2 times.
So we put it to check if to check if the distance.
The space between these 2 columns is large enough. We need to larger than 1.25 D. 1.25 D is equal to 40. So you got it?
We are still processing.
So now, once you go to H0, then the second step, this step 1, step 2, we need to check is type 1 or type 2. Use this for equation FSD, AS, FCD, B F prime H F
prime.
So you use this equation to determine your design is belong to type 1 or type 2. So
Actually,
But you don't find already
how to defend step 2, so you should confirm just.
What?
You already found the step 2 here.
yeah, here type 2 is use this as assumed. Now is the real AS
Okay.
because the AS changed. So finally, you can find is this smaller than this one is belong to type 2.
So the confirmation.
So type 2. Yes, that means your design is the same as you assume all belong to type 2. So once you got this, the third step, calculating x. Calculate the real x. Real x equal to FCD B and FSDAX minus FCD HF BF prime B. So finally it's equal to 1.1 larger than HF prime. So that means it's a real type 2. Then the fourth step, calculation MU, loading characteristic. Then MU equal to FCD BX H0 minus half X, and then plus FCD B HF prime BF minus B H0 minus half HF. Then finally we got 9, 9, 8, 7. So it's nearly equal to the because the load is 3,000 and the loading capacity actually is not larger than this. So this, from here you see, actually this design, strictly speaking, it's not quite good, but it's almost equal to 3,000. So in real situation, this is still maybe still okay, because just a little bit, maybe 0.1%.
But if Laoshi will use increase the AS maybe.
Yeah, it's better to increase, make it larger than this. So now it's just a little bit, actually it's a little bit smaller than the load. But for the real situation, this actually is okay, but strictly speaking, it's not very good. So finally, you find this loading carrying capacity MU, we say is just nearly equal to the outer load weight. And also we need to check the reinforcement ratio. Rho equal to ASBH0, 3.37%. So we need to check this medium reinforcement. 0.2. Then your total design is finished. First the calculation, the design, and
But
then
actually-
check.
The reinforcement ratio is greater than the minimum. So once you find the maximum reinforcement ratio,
Minimum is because of the value. Do you remember minimum value equal to max
yeah,
f 0.45
0.45
f c d f s c
FSD.
0.2%. The large value of this. So the final step we check the reinforcement ratio meets the requirement, then the total calculation is finished. So I think this actually is simple.
Actually, if you know what you are doing, that one it's simple. But if like you don't really understand it, actually, you get somewhere and you'll be confused.
So
Especially like this place.
yeah.
This side, the cover thickness, it's a bit confusing.
So what's your question? Which one do you think is confusing?
Like this part. Actually, it's a bit confusing when you get the assumed AS, finding this one.
Yeah.
The 200, it's a bit.
So now just the check construction requirements. So see if your arrangement is meet the requirement or not. Just the space, the cover thickness, this.
Okay. So always if they give it to you, the width, you write the width, this one,
Yeah.
minus 2 times the outer diameter minus 2
The cover thickness.
the cover thickness.
Yeah. So you check the space between this column larger than 1.5 diameter of this. So 1.5 minus 32. So here they use 32. They didn't use
35.8.
So this is the whole content of this example.